Remember being in a swimming pool as a kid and being told that there was a shark in it, and everything in your logical mind knows that that couldn't possibly be the case, and yet you can't help but panic anyway. The fear grips you in spite of what your reason is telling you. You start to panic, you start to hyperventilate, you start to thrash around seeking for the edge of the pool. Well, that is psychosis. Part of your brain knows what reality is, but it's overwhelmed by the fear and the panic that grips the entirety of your nervous system. You see an object at the other end of the pool, and your brain convinces yourself that it is, in fact, a shark. You hear a sound, and you're dead certain that the shark is quickly approaching and getting closer to you. The voice of reality, sharks can't exist in pools, pales in comparison to the terror that envelops you. In psychosis, the line between real and fake gets so blurry as to become virtually non-existent. Aspects of genuine reality fade into the background, and aspects of non-reality become so vivid, so potent, so overwhelming, so alive that they become obviously real. This panic is both fueled by and in turn fuels hallucinations and delusions. Hallucinations are perception-like experiences that occur without external stimuli. It's believing that you're thinking or hearing or seeing something, hearing or seeing something that simply isn't there. The perceptions are vivid, clear, and not under one's control. They can become so intense and so all-pervasive that it's as if you're basically perceiving an entirely different world. And thoughts become voices, and you can't tell if something inside your brain was spoken to you or if it is just inside your brain. Delusions are fixed beliefs that are not amenable to change, even in the face of overwhelming and fully legitimate evidence that is 100% to the contrary of the belief. It is the man in a burning building who is saying that everything is fine. Delusions can come in many different flavors. There are persecutory delusions, where the individual is convinced that somebody else or some organization or something is out to get them. Think of the Russell Crowe movie, A Beautiful Mind. There are grandiose delusions, where the individual is convinced of their own exceptionality, where they have a sort of God-like complex. And there's many other types of delusions, which we won't get into today. But these states, these hallucinatory states, these states that are laden with delusion, they're usually temporary. The psychosis, the obvious psychosis of psychotically organized individuals is more obvious and apparent at some times rather than others. But the underlying structure of psychotically organized people, the disorganized thinking, the fragmented and fragile sense of identity, struggles with basic boundary functioning, these are constant and pervasive. When you ask somebody, for example, who is organized at the psychotic level of personality organization about their life story, you'll generally get inconsistent, disconnected, jumpy, detail-lacking narratives. They struggle to make coherent sense of themselves and the world. On a deeper level, they are uncertain of their very existence, unsure if they're allowed to exist in the first place, which is oftentimes the product of childhood experiencing, where they're related to as an extension of a parent rather than as a person in their own right. As such, they are deeply confused about who they are. They feel themselves to be fragmented, split in multiple directions, and at odds with themselves. They don't know what they think or feel, or they think or feel so many disparate thoughts and contradicting feelings that they're not sure which one of those thoughts and feelings is true. Psychotic people often ask themselves questions like, how do I know that I exist? How can I be certain that I exist? Am I really here? In a sense, they're moving through the world, but they're not firmly planted in the world. Nothing is certain, nothing is predictable, nothing is reliable, nothing is safe and secure and stable. The analyst and educator Nancy McWilliams writes that psychotically organized people experience mortal fear and dire confusion as an ongoing aspect of their everyday existence. They suffer from constant ontological insecurity. Their primary anxiety is literally existential, not just, am I okay, but am I really here? Am I going to remain here? So it's between life and death, existence and non existence. And their thinking is kind of understandably disorganized and paranoid as it arises from this type of existential ontological dread and doom. The defenses they employ are primarily about managing that overwhelming primary level panic and anxiety. To empathize with the psychotically organized individual, we have to get past the obvious errors of their worldviews. We have to ask ourselves the sorts of questions that they're burdened with without just casually dismissing these questions as obviously crazy. So we ask ourselves and we really try to feel into what it would be like to believe that this question is of fundamental importance. Uh, Am I just deluding myself into thinking that I exist? How does how does nobody else see the shark over there? See the fact that the world is about to end? Does anybody else even see me? What if it's just aliens in my head? What if I'm not even here at all? What if the world isn't even here at all? Now, nobody can live a normal life when these types of thoughts, when the impending doom, the outright obliteration, and the shaky ontological existence color their every thought and feeling. To stay alive in the face of such panic, these individuals have to find a way to get some modicum of distance from it, to get some degree of breathing room, and that's where their defenses come in. Their defenses are preconscious, employed automatically to protect from the overwhelming and exhausting dread, lostness, aloneness, fear, and confusion. The psychotic individual denies aspects of reality that might provoke these deep-seated fears and convictions, or that might distract the psychotic individual from what they feel to be the very real threat that is just around the corner. They go into omnipotent control and convince themselves that they run the show, that all things revolve around them. They resort to splitting. They put all the bad things and threatening elements of the world into one person or one organization or one entity in an effort to get some psychological distance from the threat or to make some sense of it, make it concrete and tangible, and therefore something that can be worked with or at least understood. They withdraw from the world, from community, jobs, friends, and families, all in an effort to distance themselves from the panic. They act out because doing things that look crazy to the observer are, in the end, still better than raw confrontation with all pervading doom. Any distraction, no matter how damaging, is better than the pain that comes with that level of awareness. Psychotically organized individuals, they're at the very roots of the human experience. They look at the questions of existence that would make most of us uncomfortable, but they're stuck there. And they're overwhelmed, as any of us would be, by the fear and isolation that comes with being stuck there. And they long for sincerity, for heartfelt concern, for genuine interest. But their needs are too big for most of us mere mortals. They push away with the intensity of their longing for our help. We are terrified by the extent of their needs. We are pushed to the limit. And in the end, as so often happens, they end up alone all over again. Psychotics live in a world that few of us have the guts or even ability to imagine. But that lack of imagination certainly doesn't need to translate to a lack of understanding or a lack of empathy. The psychotic, looking up at the human condition from the very base of it, sees what the rest of us, standing somewhere up here, adequately well developed as we are, have successfully repressed and pushed down. And in this way, the psychotic individual has access to realities that we don't. But we have access to reality at its most superficial level, indeed, the level of reality that needs to be accessed in order to achieve consistency and success in this life. The one reality, that is, that continually evades the psychotic. Thank you for listening and watching. today's talk. If you're interested in learning about other levels of personality organization, you can check out my other videos or subscribe just to be sure that you are kept up to date. Take care. Have a great day.